increase physical, mental, and social well-being, not only the absence of disease. And so for that matter, it's safe to say that mental health or psychological well-being makes up an integral part of an individual's capacity to lead a fulfilling life, including the ability to form and maintain relationships, to study, to work, or pursue leisure interests, to make day-to-day decisions about educational, employment, housing, and other choices. Disturbances to an individual's mental health can adversely compromise these capacities and choices, leading not only to a diminished functioning at individual level, but also at the societal level at large. Now, when we talk about mental health, it comprises of several contributing factors that help someone to be mentally healthy. And these factors can be grouped in three levels, that is, an individual attribute, social circumstances, and the environmental factors. I'll speak in brief on all the levels. I'll start with the individual attributes. In the individual attributes, we could say that self-esteem matters a lot on determining somebody's mental health. If you have a good self-esteem about yourself, if you view yourself as an important and person full of potential, it helps you to avoid having any mental unwell-being. Also, our ability to handle stress. Day in, day out, we have problems and stressful activities, stressful situations in life. The way we handle them, the way we take them, and the way we react towards them really affects our mental health. Sometimes one can have a small problem, but the attitude to it can determine whether that person is mentally healthy, will be mentally healthy or not. We see people every day developing psychosis, developing mental illnesses, or in a simpler language, I would say, who go crazy because of certain situations in life that lead them to lose it in their ability to function properly mentally. Also, there's a very big problem that we have in this country, I could say substance abuse, in which we have youth like you and I who indulge in use of heroin, use of cocaine, even excessive use of alcohol, and eventually end up developing mental illness. And for instance, here in Mbili, we have a methadone clinic where patients come who have been using heroin for a very long time. Using heroin, according to psychiatry and mental health, is not a problem, but abusing heroin is a problem. Now, in psychiatry, we have a manual. It's called Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, in which there are criteria to define someone as a heroin abuser, as an alcohol abuser, or any substance abuser. So it's really a big problem in our country. I wish I could have had a moment to take you there at the methadone clinic to show you just how much youth are wasting their lives because of the use of heroin. Just a day before, I was around Buguruni, which is known to be the area where there is the most number and the most intensive use of heroin. You will see people out, they are not scared at all, they're using heroin, injectable drugs, and it would move you to tears to see just how much people are lost due to the use of heroin. Going to social circumstances, there are a lot of things around us that can affect our mental health. Our social support system, if you have a good family, good friends, if you interact, it keeps you free from having mental illness. Also, parenting skills. We see children every day who are abused, who are neglected, either because the parent is a substance abuser, or just because the parent does not know how to raise a child in a way in which that child will feel loved and will feel understood and part of the society. In that way, those children end up using substances, those children end up developing mental illnesses. Also, economic security. A lot of people suffer from mental illness because of unemployment. People graduate from school. People finish their education at the university, they complete their education, and they end up having mental illness because they stay 3 to 4 years at home without employment. These are very big things which when kept in theory, they would look like amazing, but you should see them in practice, and you would understand how much somebody's mental health is part and parcel of who they really are. Going to environmental factors, there are so many things, but the biggest that I talk about is our myth. In our country, a large population is very superstitious, in such a way that when a person develops an illness, a mental illness, it's easier to blame it on a supernatural power than to deliver that person to the proper health service. And so for that matter, people deteriorate day after day and end up even dying out of a mental illness, because if you're unable to take care of yourself, if you're unable to function, eventually the body wears off and you just lose your life in the process. There are several mental diseases. There are childhood diseases, there are adulthood diseases, I could put them that way. But I'd just like to bring to attention, there's also stuff called anxiety disorder and phobias. The master of ceremony and mistress of ceremony are trying to pull you people to come and sit in front. And to you it might look normal, but to have that phobia of coming to sit in front, as a psychiatrist, I could easily diagnose you to be having a mental illness. Because you're supposed to have the confidence to be able to come in front and be proud of who you are. It says a lot about your self-esteem. And we really cannot be blamed, because our life, in our upbringing, we are always taught to be humble and to be low. We're not taught to have high self-esteem and go out and show who we really are. So that, to some people, goes all the way into becoming a mental disorder. So you should always trust yourself, trust your self-esteem, because that really says a lot about your mental health. Having said that, I'll talk a little bit about the mental health situation in Tanzania. In our country, there are several organizations that deal with mental health. There's the Muhimbili University of Health and Allied Sciences, Department of Psychiatry and Mental Health. There are Basic Needs Tanzania, Regional Psychosocial Support Initiative, Regional East Center East, REPSI, and Tanzania Users and Survivors of Psychiatry Organization, just to mention but a few. But in terms of our current mental health care situation, Tanzania is a vast country with a population of around 40 million people, plus 274,000 refugees. About 80% of these are living in rural areas, and 33.6% are living under the poverty line. In our country, there are about 7 tertiary hospitals, 18 regional hospitals, 86 district hospitals. And the total number of psychiatric beds where a patient who comes with a mental illness could be admitted is 900. And in most regions, you have only 20 beds, while you have a population of around 1.5 million people. So you can imagine the scarcity and the lack of awareness of the importance of mental health in our country. Also, in Tanzania, there's only one Tanzanian governmental mental health hospital, the Psychiatric Referral Hospital Mirembe in Dodoma, with 600 beds, and allied to Isanga, the forensic institution. There's also a Lutindi Mental Hospital of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Tanzania, which is the only mission mental hospital in our country. In Dar es Salaam and in the southern district Mtwara, Basic Needs NGO is offering comprehensive mental health care and treatment, case management and rehabilitation. In our country, when it comes to the medical personnel, it's only the Muhimbili University of Health and Allied Sciences which gives a postgraduate degree in psychiatry. And so, as in 2009, there are only 18 psychiatrists, and of whom 13 are working in the public sector and 4 only are outside Dar es Salaam. So all the regions which are excluding Dar es Salaam only have 4 psychiatrists to deal with the mental health of the people. So this is just to show how much in our country mental health has not yet made people touch their hearts to see that it's very important for us to have our health taken care of mentally. Compared to 10 years ago, there's an improvement, we could say. But still, mental health seems no priority at all in all levels of policy, as there is stigma and marginalization of people with mental health disorder is still very rampant. A good example is at the psychiatric health clinic here. Whenever it's near public holidays, say Eid or Christmas, most relatives would bring their patients over there. You know, if you come to a psychiatric clinic and you say your patient wanted to commit suicide, that is a very direct reason why a patient should be admitted, because suicide is a psychiatric emergency. So what the parents or the relatives would say, they would say this patient wanted to commit suicide, even though they didn't, because they are ashamed that the visitors who will be coming for Eid and Christmas will see that patient who is mentally ill, and they will be ashamed of that family. They will say that family is cursed and things like that. So during Eid and during Christmas, there is such a great admission of patients, and then they will come to take them after the Eid and the Christmas and all the public holidays. So you can imagine that there's so much stigma and marginalization when it comes to mental health within our society. People would easily say their relatives are not their relatives simply because they have to celebrate something and they're ashamed of them, which is not right, and which would further deteriorate the health of that patient. When it comes, for those who would be interested to do psychiatry, because it's an upcoming institution and it's an upcoming thing when it comes to mental health, people have to be made aware. People are aware of diabetes, people are aware of HIV, but people are not aware that mental health exists and that it can also even be genetic, so there's nothing to be ashamed of it. So there are only few universities with medical faculties, but only at most can one study to become a psychiatrist. Currently there are 11 students, and in clinical psychology there are now 16 students. And there are institutes where one can learn on occupational therapy, a therapy in which you teach those people who have mental illness how to accustom to life after the mental illness. You see, someone who has schizophrenia is a cognitive disorder. It affects somebody's frontal brain, in which that frontal brain helps you to judge, to make decisions, to decide that today I want to come to you and sit here and listen. That is your frontal brain which is doing that. So a disease like that makes someone unable to make self-decisions. So when it comes to occupational therapy, you teach a person how to accustom to life after a mental illness, how to take care of themselves, how to take care of the surroundings, how to do small things that can easily bring income to them because they are not able to do the complex things due to the mental illness. So all in all, I would just like to say that with the above enlightenment, our current situation in Tanzania, it is clear that mental health is still an area to be explored and brought into light, as very few people are well informed and live along the countless myths that surround people who are suffering from mental illness. Having said all that, I'd like to say thank you so much for your attention. God bless you, God bless Tanzania.